Hey everybody, this is Nicole with Topaz. Thanks for joining me here today for night photography that is enhanced with Topaz Adjust, black and white effects, and star effect. With the addition of star effects to the Topaz product line, which was released pretty recently, it's easier than ever to create really memorable and striking night imagery. Not only are you able to correct and enhance certain color casts and exposure difficulties that you might run into with Topaz Adjust and black and white effects, but then you're able to bring even more beautiful light into your images. And with night imagery, a lot of times you do have lights as part of your subject. So we're going to be going over all three of those, and I'm going to show you several different workflows, and we're going to talk about not only really nice images to start off with, but also images that you might want to correct and enhance with these as well. Before we get started with a workflow, I am just going to show you some before and afters. So we'll start off here with this bridge image. Here is the after, but before is here. It's a really nice image to start off with, and I wanted to just make it a little bit more dreamlike, really get those lights glowing and get a little bit softer. And here's where we ended up. It's after. We'll go over this shortly. Let's see here. This is an image I really liked to play with. There were several different looks that I was playing around with. This is after, but here's the before. And here's an example of when you have this artificial light within night imagery really starting to throw a color cast on everything, which is complementary to some scenes, and in some scenes it gets a little bit too much overkill and you really want to tone that down a bit. With Topaz Adjust, really most of the presets just do that for you with the adaptive exposure technology, and you can quickly, with one preset, come up with this. This is after. This was one of the first ones that I was working on. And then I was also able to make this image a bit darker and really start to show off the night aspects with our dusk preset, and then going in and working with it just a little bit. Again, here's before and after. I really like this dusk. All right, let's keep going. This is our before image here. This is a striking image to start off with, but when you're shooting at night at times, you start to do extended exposures. If you're shooting right after twilight, or even as you have a lot of artificial light, a lot of light pollution coming off the horizon, you'll start to get really vibrant, beautiful colors. But if those colors start to take away from your subject of what you're actually shooting, then I really like to bring black and white effects into the mix and see what happens there, just to take out the colors altogether. And I thought it was a really beautiful choice for this particular image. So again, here's before, and then here's after black and white effects. And then I saw a couple stars up here in the sky and wanted to bring in a little bit more of a starry night up into the upper area of my sky. So I was able to do that by cutting out a starry night out of another image and then using blending layers to bring in some stars. So let me hopefully you see that. Some of them are a little bit brighter than others, and it's just blended into the image. So again, let me show you this way. Here's before star effects and after. So I just brought in a little bit of a starry night, which was nice for this image. This image uses both star effects and adjust as well. And this was a night image taken about twilight. And down here where it's really dark and shadowy, it's quite noisy as well as distracting. A lot of that detail still coming through. So to bring up the contrast a little bit, take away some of this openness of the hill that doesn't really need to be there. As long as you see some detail, that's good. You can quickly do that and adjust. So the focus became less about the hill, more about our castle. And then I wanted to enhance the moon and the glow around the moon in this image. Here's after. So here's star effects again, before. We're looking over here on the top left, and after. And that was also very simple to do. Even when you have a really kind of a mundane image, this image isn't very striking, but you're able to really get the image to really pop with these filters with your night imagery. Here's where we started. Here's before. A lot of color casts going on, a lot of the same tone, not a lot of contrast in my foreground and anywhere other than where there's a light. So I was able to take this into Adjust really quickly and bring out some of the contrast in the tones, give the texture a little bit of a gritty feel to it, and then enhance it even more with star effects to really let those lights in the background glow. So let's go ahead and jump on into one of these images. I think to start off with, we will go back to the beginning. In this particular instance, we used black and white effects and star effects. Here's without star effects and black and white effects. So let's go ahead and just start off with this background layer, get rid of these other two layers, and hop on into black and white effects first. My goal for this image was to just soften it up a little bit and just change the feel of it overall. That's one of the benefits of these filters, is to just change the feeling you get when you're looking at it and the feeling that the viewer is going to walk away with. It's very simple to do that with our presets, and that's what I want to show you here. Let's make a background copy and go into our filters list, Topaz Labs, Topaz Black and White Effects. So let's just press Reset All to start off with. And when you first press Reset All, it's going to give you a neutral grayscale image, which isn't bad at all with this black and white image turned into a black and white. It's quite beautiful. Here's before and here's after. And really all I wanted to do was bring in some of that color back on an overall scale, not selective color, not just the lights or anything like that, but overall just give it a really soft feeling. And I want to start out with maybe a little bit of a dynamic preset over here, my stylized collection, which is going to open up this lower left area and bring in a little bit more detail when it's the shadow. So all I need to do there is maybe come to Dynamic 1 Smooth, or even Dynamic 2 Smooth. Here's before, here's after. You can't really tell going from black and white to color, so let me show you that in another way by opening up my conversion and showing you the before and after the adaptive exposure, which is really the prominent feature within this preset. You can see it just adds a little bit more openness, or it just opens this shadowy area up just a tiny bit. Here's before and after. And it also has some nice texture and exposure enhancements to the rest of the image as well. And I'm pretty much happy with this. It was a really good image to start off with, so I'm just going to come down here to my finishing touches and go into my transparency slider. The transparency slider is something that we've added into black and white effects in Topaz Adjust 5, the latest version, to allow for the original image to start coming back. In black and white effects, we added it because it gives you an almost feeling of pencil drawing, colored pencils on your black and white image, which is kind of an alternative process and kind of a cool thing that people do. And it just has a really soft color to it. So we let you take back quite a bit of color, but not the entire amount of color. So here's the original color, and this is as far as you can bring back into the image. And I think it's really beautiful. I'm going to leave this at about 0.75 for now. And I'm happy, so I'm going to say okay, and we're going to get back into Photoshop. So I'm just going to make another background copy, and now I have a copy of my black and white effects that I just did. But before we do that, let's look at the before and after. Here's before. Here's after. And now I'm going to hop into Topaz Star Effects. And if you look at this image at 1:1, I'm just going to say reset all, and we're going to get a default of no stars. I'm going to say 1:1. If you look at it up close, you'll see that there are tons of stars already there that were naturally there with the way the image was shot. And I really don't necessarily want to make really bright stars on this particular image. They're already there, number one. Number two, I just want to enhance the glow and the overall haze around the star effect. So the way that I can do that is I'm going to go back to fit. So we look at this image so we can see the entire thing. And I'm just going to do my quick glow technique. All you have to do is go into main adjustments and take that threshold slider all the way down to 0. Because I'm at default, it's going to just give me a default 4-point star on every single light source that it detects. Now, this is obviously not something that I want for this image. And all I have to do is take my luminance completely down to 0. For the luminance, the angle, number of points, and spread all apply to the main star effect, that 4-point star you just saw. The threshold controls how many light sources or light points in your image are considered for the effect that you're going to be applying. As you move up with your threshold towards 1, it's going to take only the larger light sources, and as you move down towards 0, it's going to take all the smallest light sources it can, up to 500 points of light. The size does apply to all of the additional effects, but I'm just going to come down to my additional effects. I have secondary points to create very, very small stars. I have glow, which is what I'm going to be using here, and I'm going to take it up pretty substantially so you can see it. You're definitely going to see it. And then we have a ring flare. Ring flare gives you a nice ring around the outside of the glow. We're not going to use it in this particular image, but we are here in just a bit. So this glow is a little much. I'm going to take this down maybe to 0.2. And because we haven't added any sort of color adjustments right now, it is bright white. That's how it's going to default. That's the color by default. But before I change the color, I'm going to hop on into my main adjustments and take my size down now as well. The size controls the size of the glow. The glow in the additional effects, that slider, actually controls the luminance, the brightness of the glow, not the size. So you do have to come into here and change that size. And then I'm just going to come in here in my color adjustments and take my saturation up. That's going to start pulling from the light source's original color. So instead of the glow being bright white around these colored lights, because every artificial light has some sort of warmth or coolness or some sort of color to it, it's actually pulling now from that color. If I wanted to add an overall warm or cool feeling, I could do so here with my temperature slider, but instead I am happy. So here's before and here's after. And it just gives me a really beautiful, soft, diffused type of feel to my lights. I'm going to say OK. And it's as easy as that to turn in this particular image into a really nice, soft night image of this bridge. It was a very nice image to start off with, but I think we did enhance it pretty quickly. All right, here's before and here's after. So let's keep on moving down the line. Let's go into this image. Here we're going to play with Adjust. And since we worked with black and white effects and star effects, now let's take a look at Adjust and a couple of things that Adjust can do. Again, this is one of the looks I ended up with. Here's before. This is the original image, which is nice, but it's just a little hazy, not very detailed. The color cast is pretty extreme here. The detail on the buildings is just washed out for being a night image. And so I was able to kind of bring in the idea that it's nighttime back in, and I've lost some of that color cast that's coming off of these very warm lights. And then I tried a whole different look as well that brought some of the light back into it, but still was able to enhance the detail and take away that color cast. Here's before, here's after. Okay, so let's get rid of these top two layers. And I'm going to make a background copy. I'm going to make a couple background copies in case I want to do a couple different things. So let's go to Topaz Adjust 5. I do think Adjust has some fantastic presets for night imagery that you can start off with, whether you're trying to correct a night image, if something is really dark and you're trying to pull detail and contrast and light and color out of the dark, Adjust is amazing for that. And then if you're trying to enhance some detail and contrast and take away color casts and still improve upon the night image, except you do have some good light, like here in this particular image, we have several as well. And then if you want to make it look darker, if you want to take a daylight image and have it look like dusk, we have several of those. And even using the dusk preset on a night image can really start to bring in a night feel that you might be missing because of all the artificial light that you're working with in this type of scene. So we do have our classic collection of presets over here, and a couple of these, such as Photo Pop, I like, and they really do just give your image an overall just kind of pop to it. The details enhance the color, the contrast, the exposure. Here's before, here's after, but it's just not where I'm wanting to go for this particular image. I want to try to get rid of this overly yellow color cast that's going on in my cement. And it feels a little washed out. The light feels a little washed out, or not a lot of dark. And it's a night scene. I really want some darkness in here. So when I was thinking about that, I thought, you know, in my stylized collection, there is a dusk preset that I really enjoy. So I'm going to click on that, and that's what we're seeing here. Here's before and after. We also have a couple other night presets, dark ghostly, which starts to take an image in a very creative way, very stylistic, almost painterly type of effects. And then we have dark night, which will really get those colors going and the detail highly enhanced. But this dusk just doesn't quite go to that level. It's still a little bit more realistic, and for some images like this one, it doesn't quite look right, and you'll have to come over here in your adjustments and play with it. But I think if I'm trying to make this image look more like nighttime, we did a good job right there with that preset to start off with. Here's before, and here's after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my global adjustments. There's a couple issues that I'm seeing here. Number one, there's some sharpening in my tree, a little bit too much detail enhancement that's starting to give me some artifacts in my sharpening and detail enhancement that I want to deal with. I want to open up this building, and I want to get my sky to be a little bit brighter, so I can start to see the contrast between the tree and the sky. So let's open up our global adjustments, and I'm going to open up my adaptive exposure. First, I'm just going to uncheck and check it and see, yep, that's where pretty much the entire amount of adjustments are occurring. So we'll just open that on up. And I can tell you right away the contrast and brightness for a lot of these darker presets are going to be set way to the negative. So this contrast is way negative, and then we take the brightness and take that brightness way down. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my brightness up a bit. We don't want it too bright, but I'm just going to take that up. And now if I want to add a little bit more contrast in there, I can bring that up as well, so I can start to get really dark areas with still detail in there, though, still detail in my tree, and really bright areas for my lights. So I'm just taking that up. So now here's before, here's after. This is just after the adaptive exposure. I'm going to take my brightness just a little bit farther down again. Okay. The protect shadows is really important within your night imagery. You're going to have a lot of dark areas. Obviously, it's nighttime. With the protect shadows, as you push this up, it will start to try to open up your shadow areas, and if you push it up too high, it starts to almost give you an almost haze-like effect in your dark areas. So I like to keep this protect shadows pretty low if I'm working with nighttime images, so I don't give myself that haze in my shadows. The protect highlights, you can move those up if your highlights are starting to blow out a bit, but I like it actually right here. So I'm going to take that down. Now I'm going to look at my details tab before and after. Here's before, here's after. Remember the sharpening artifacts I was talking about in the details within the tree? Let me show you that again. Just keep your eye up here in the tree. Here's before. which is much natural, much softer looking, and here's after. So I'm going to open up the details and try to fix that. I already have my process details independent of exposure checked. Without this box checked, you have a lot more details, but it's not too bad actually because there's not a ton of detail enhancement. So let's just take this detail boost back down to 1. Here's before, here's after. Now I'm going to take my strength on my details up a little. The detail boost is the very, very small details. It's really a great texture enhancer, but when you're working with really contrasty areas such as up here with the light coming through the branches of this tree, sometimes it will have some negative effects. So if you're seeing those, you can just take that detail boost off. But we still have some detail enhancement through the strength slider. All right, in the color slider, we have taken quite a bit of the saturation out of the image. Here's before. Here's after. I do want to bring some of it back. So I'm just going to take this saturation up to about 0.8. I'll leave the saturation boost down. And then I'm going to take my adaptive saturation up. Now the adaptive saturation and the color regions, they work the same way that the adaptive exposure in regions work, in the sense that it breaks your image up into several different regions when you move the region slider, and then it works on those regions separately on a more locally level depending on where your region slider is set, or on a more global level. So this adaptive saturation will work a little bit differently than your regular saturation. And that's pretty much it. I'm pretty happy here. We do have noise as well, and that's something to keep an eye out for when you're working with your night imagery. Adjust is really nice because you have this noise tab in there. Let me show you with this preset. This is without the noise tab, and this is with. So you still have all of the detail within the building and all of the very crisp lines, but you've just lost a lot of that night noise. You can come into your finishing effects and play around with it. Here we have the tone for the dusk preset, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm just going to say okay, and it's as simple as that. You don't even have to come into this area over here on the right, but it's just nice sometimes to be able to go into those adjustments and play around with them. There we go. Let's move on to another image. So you've seen all 3 programs. Let's do another quick adjust and star effects. I'll show you this, how to really amp up your moons, since moons are a part of the night imagery for us. Again, here's the after, but here's the before to start off with. Here's before and then after. I'll get rid of these top 2. Take those on down, and here's our before image. Not a bad image, but pretty noisy, especially in my darker area. It's very washed out in my shadow area. I've lost a lot of that contrast or depth to my shadow. And because of that, it's taking some of the attention away from the castle. So let me go into adjust first after I make a copy. There we go. Just 5 before we do star effects. You don't have to start off with a preset, and let's not start off with a preset for this one. We'll go to reset all, and I'm going to open up my global adjustments. Now these by default are checked, but if you uncheck them and check them, you'll see there's no difference because your default is 0. And the first thing I'm just going to do is I'm going to take my adaptive exposure up. My adaptive exposure and regions are really the guts of Adjust. Now, one thing to know about night images, and this is important for what your goal is, it doesn't really matter what your adaptive exposure is at. It does, because it'll start to push and pull your image in several different ways. But what's even more important in your night imagery with Adjust and black and white effects is the regions. At a 1 region, your image is being recognized as one large region, so it's going to be really stretching your highlights and really stretching your lowlights as well. And then as you put these regions up more, it'll start to balance out your image and make it a much more well-balanced HDR-like type of image where your tonal range starts to come into a very similar area as your other tones. But for this one, I want to keep my regions at 1 because I really want to darken up this hill and keep my highlights pretty high. So I'm going to start here. Then I'm going to take my brightness and we're going to push that down just a little to darken up all those details and get a little depth to my shadow. I'm going to take my contrast up. And there we are. I'm almost pretty happy. So then we have our protect highlights and protect shadows. Now if I take this, it's by default at 0.02 for both. If I take this protect shadows down to 0, it'll just make my shadows a little bit darker. I'll show you that one more time. Okay, and after. I'm almost ready to go here. I do want to get my details a little bit enhanced, maybe get my detail boost going for some texture, and my strength up just a bit as well. Here's before, here's after. You can really see the texture down here in the hill. Here's before, here's after. So instead I'm going to say process details independently. Process details independently will take away some of the grittiness of the texture that we just created and still allow for the details to be enhanced. Then we have our color tab, and I'm just going to take this up a little bit. And I am going to put some noise suppression on there for my sky and a little bit of noise that I'm seeing. Just going to take it up a tiny bit. Okay, so we're just going to move on from here because I want to show you the star effect. But quickly, you don't have to start with the presets. We took this image from here to here with a few movements of sliders, and I think it's definitely enhanced the overall exposure and feeling of the image. So let's say OK. And now I'm going to make another background copy and hop into Topaz Star Effects to enhance my moon. Okay, so we have these few presets over here called sun flares. They will be good for your moon as well. So you can just click on one of those to start off with. Here's before. Here's after. It's only going to highlight the biggest areas of your image, or the biggest light sources within your image, because usually the sun or moon are. So it did a good job. It recognized that as my light source. And now I'm going to come into my star settings. All I want is extra glow and a ring flare. I don't want a star itself. So I'm going to take this luminance down to get rid of the star itself. If I took it up, you'll see exactly what's really happening. There you are, there's the star. But if I take that luminance down, I still get the glow. And I want to increase that glow. And I'm going to take that ring flare up just a little. And you'll see it start to form here on the outside. The ring flare is going to be around my glow. I'll take it up high so you can see it. There we are. It's great for sun flares or lights around lampposts, something like that. And then I'm going to take my color adjustments, and that's what I was looking for. Here's before, here's after. I'm going to say OK, and there we are. All right, so let's work on this image as I open up some of the questions that are going on. Vincent says, can I make black and white only on a part of the picture? Absolutely, Vincent. So let's say we want to, okay, we can do this one. Let's say I want to take all of this image into black and white effects and make the entire image black and white, or just a portion of it black and white, whatnot. We'll just open this up and I'll show you real quick how that works. Okay, so here is our black and white effects. In our local adjustments tools, both Adjust and black and white effects have these brushes that are really, really, really useful. The one that's specific to black and white effects is this color brush. The color brush allows you to bring color back into your area on a selective basis. So if I wanted to, for example, bring in my lights, I just click on my color, and I'm going to take my brush size down. I'm going to take my edge aware brush all the way up, so it'll be very edge aware, leave my hardness up. Now my brush is much larger than just these lights at this point because these lights are so small, but because I have my edge aware on, all I have to do is I Actually, let me take my opacity all the way up so you can actually see what I'm doing. All I have to do is scroll over them, and then the brush is only going to bring back the color that its crosshairs are actually on. So it's as simple as that to bring back color. Now, if you spill over, it will bring some of the other color back in. This is what you would have to do to only make a portion of it black and white as well, except the opposite would be true. What you could do very quickly is take your brush size up and take my hardness up, my opacity all the way up, my edge aware all the way down. So I'm just doing a very quick bring in all the color. Okay, so now I'm back to my original color image. By the way, this program is called Black, White, and Beyond because of all the different color work that you can also do within this image, or within this program. So it's a really versatile program. Instead of now working with my color brush, I'm going to work with my color eraser. So it's the same idea, except now I'm going to come in and erase all of this color stuff that I just put in. So let's say I want to make my sky black and white. I can do that. This kind of looks crazy, but I can do it nonetheless. So I'm able to be very edge aware and just bring in the areas that I want. I'm going to take my edge awareness down now that I'm done here. There we go. So I now have brought just my sky back in as black and white. So that's how you would go about that. All right. Donna says, does Adjust have brushes? Yes, Donna, it does. Let me do this really quickly, and I'll show you the different brushes in each program because I really think that the brushes are what truly make, especially Adjust 5 and Black and White Effects, so awesome. I love it. Let's get back up to, okay, here's this original image, and that I'm just going to make a copy and hop on into first Black and White Effects. We already went over the smooth brush, but the other brushes that are available is the dodge brush, which is going to lighten certain things up. It's just like dodging and burning in a traditional darkroom. That was the intention of it. So let's say my brush size is about here, my hardness. I don't really do edge aware for that. Pasty down, and I can just, let's try to lighten my white line of cars up here. You can see down here exactly what you've affected, and it's already pretty white, so I guess that really wouldn't work. Maybe I can whiten my interior of my arc up. Okay, and so here's before, here's after. This also can be very edge aware. Then we have burn, which is pretty much the opposite, so you can darken certain areas of your image up. We have the color, which we already went over, the smooth, which we already went over, but one of my favorite is the detail. Detail is so cool because it allows you to add in more detail selectively to certain areas. So if I wanted to come in here, and I'm not going to keep it edge aware, I'm going to take my opacity pretty high so you can really see a difference. And just come in and do this whole side of the arc. Here we go. Here's before, here's after. So that texture started to come out. The beautiful detail really started to get enhanced. Here's before, here's after. And you can really take that up too. It could be pretty extreme if you want it to be, which is great if you're trying to selectively do that and a certain area needs to be enhanced like that. Again, here's before, here's after. Really nice structure detail. All right, so there are our black and white brushes. Now let's take this image into Adjust, and basically the same brushes are in there, except here we have brush out, which is fabulous. We have the dodge, we have the burn, we have the smooth, and then the brush out. Some of these presets within Adjust are just, they do so many different things to the pixels in your image. They stretch it in so many different ways, trying to create this effect. And it can look outstanding on certain areas of your image, such as all this structure detail, all of these strong lines and strong texture, but other areas, flat areas like your skies and skin and areas you want to keep smooth, might start to get a little over stylized. So let's say we are at, go to the vibrant. I think that's where Specify is, and a lot of people love Specify, but one of the things Specify has a problem with is smooth areas, and you can tell right here. Now this is a little over the top for this particular image, for my taste. Here's before, here's after, especially with all of the haloing that's going on around the areas, and it just really did nasty things to my sky. All you have to do is go to your local adjustments, go to brush out. I'm going to brush all of it out so you can really see it. And again, that edge aware is going to allow for me to not worry about affecting my building at all. And look how quickly I can come in between my trees and just get rid of that over-processed feel without affecting the brightness of my trees. And because I really like the bright leaves and everything like that, but it's just a little too much in the sky itself. So as you can tell down here, look at how quickly I was able to go in between all those branches of that tree. It's as simple as that. So that's my favorite thing within Adjust and black and white effects, is just the ability to quickly go in and selectively put the effect where you want it. Thanks again for joining me, and I'm hoping that you can see how all three of these programs, or alone or used together, can be very, very useful on creating high impact night images. Thanks again.